Hello everyone, so I just got back from my screening of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. This is the capstone, the final movie of, or the final project really, of Phase 4 of Marvel, and of course the follow-up to 2018's Black Panther. So this movie comes in at about 2 hours and 40 minutes long. It is directed again by Ryan Coogler, written by him and Joe Robert Clark. Stars Latita Wright, Winston Duke, Lupita Nyong'o, a bunch of the returning cast, and a decent amount of newcomers, the main one being Tana Katura playing Namor. And yeah, there's just a lot to unpack about this movie. I will say right off the bat that this is going to be a spoiler review. I find when it comes to Marvel movies, I'm just able to get my thoughts illustrated better by going into the spoilers instead of just brushing over them and having the audience figure out, if you haven't seen the movie yet, sorry if you have, try to figure out what I'm talking about being all cryptic. So this is going to go fully into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want spoilers, save this for later, come back to it once you've watched it. But yes, without further ado, let me get into my review for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So this project was one of my most anticipated for all of Phase 4, and basically it is about the people of Wakanda fighting to protect their home from intervening world powers as they mourn the death of King T'Challa. So when it comes to the one thing that I really liked about this movie is that kind of handling the death of T'Challa, the loss of Chadwick Boseman, it is an absolute celebration of who the character was and who Chadwick was. There is an amazing just sequence in the beginning of this movie where you have the initial Marvel credits roll where it has again to all the music and it shows all the characters from all the past movies. This one is fully in purple, dedicated to Chadwick, and it's silenced the entire way throughout, and I found that it was very great. But throughout this film, there is just, again, it's a celebration of who he was. It doesn't feel at all like a cheap montage there to eat at your heartstrings, like nothing like that. It is a celebration of who he was, extremely genuine, and when it comes to, again, the writing and the performance of these actors who are mourning the death of the character, you really feel, again, to not just feel like it was completely genuine, the pain that they were feeling, the hurt that they were feeling, just, again, their feelings in real life translated to the screen and made for some just, again, just moments that felt so earned, and again, a celebration of just Chadwick's work, Chadwick's character. So yes, that was handled absolutely brilliantly. I didn't doubt that this team would be able to do that, or sorry, that they wouldn't be able to do that, but yeah, they did a really good job with it. But now getting into the base of the movie, I want to say that the first half of this film I found was absolutely great. I did have some troubles with pacing and just things felt so rushed in the second half, but we'll get to that later. When it comes to the first little bit of this movie, I'm gonna start from the beginning, work my way to the end here. But all of the sequences, and especially one of the opening ones with Namor and his people, are just really well shot, and they did an amazing job, I feel like, handling Namor's character. He was easily my favorite part of this movie. Tanakh puts on an absolute clinic of a performance and really understood this character. I'm glad that Marvel didn't go for the hero aspect of the character, because I've never seen Namor as a hero. I've always seen him more as a very misguided leader, and it definitely kind of went into that a little bit here, but in a sense, I completely understood exactly why, again, he was doing everything that he was doing. I found his intentions were very valid and just a very well realized character who, again, you can completely understand why he's doing everything he's doing. A bit extreme, yes, but it was just really great to see a fully realized villain, and a good villain, because Marvel's had problems with that in the past, and I found in Phase 4 they've had a bit of problems again with the very generic villain, but not in the case here. I found this is just a great handling of him and his people were done here. I love seeing their land, their aspects. When it comes to kind of their use of vibranium, because they're people, they do explain that there could have been multiple comets or the comets were washed away in the waters. I did find that their use of it could have been explained a little bit more, how they unlocked its potential and used to build their cities. I found there need to be a little bit more of that within this film. And also too, just when it came to the part where they're explaining that they want the scientists who created these mining rigs that can detect vibranium, they wanted the scientists dead. I found it was kind of, I hated that they went to Wakanda for that. It's because they're just scapegoating them into like they didn't protect their own resource properly enough, and now they're blaming Wakanda for their troubles and their scientists discovering what it was. Again, too, it can add to the character in a little bit. It's just I don't know if that's exactly what this movie was going for, in a sense. It just made his people feel a little bit lazy in their resource handling and hiding everything. A nation that wants to be so secret, but again, too, just not properly hiding the materials that were given to them, spread to them. Um, the thing is, though, is that when it came to, again, just their opening sequence, they're intimidating as hell, and I did like their technology. The water grenades that they have were super, super cool, made for some amazing action sequences. Very scary in terms of their technology, too, where they have almost like a siren call that can mind wash people instead of just walking to the water and drowning themselves. It was terrifying. And just their use of powers is absolutely great. Namor's wings, his background, his origin, again, too, just fully realized. And his fight scenes are absolutely incredible. He moves so quick and so fast, and he is just furious within his moves. And of course, too, the performance that puts on absolutely bolsters all that. And I just found it was very, very great. Just a great character. And again, too, Namor was easily my favorite part of this whole movie in terms of his action, his character, just all of these things that built to him attacking and invading Wakanda. In this film, I found kind of had a bit of a similar so America Chavez from Doctor Strange, that storyline kind of translates into this movie a little bit with Riri Williams. She's the scientist who created the aforementioned mining rigs that can detect vibranium. So Namor wants her dead, and Wakanda ends up making the choice to defend her. She didn't know that these rigs were going to be, again, used in such a way, or even that her designs were actually really going to be used or sold. Again, to her own government kind of scapegoated her into that. So I found that was very interesting, and Riri has done absolutely fantastically. Loved her as Ironheart in this, seeing kind of the Mark 1 and then on to Mark 2 of her suits was absolutely crazy and amazing. I love the Mark II version of her suits. Great character, definitely lots of fun, extremely smart and a lot of potential moving on. Again, kind of not taking the role of Iron Man away from Tony Stark, but filling the shoes a little bit in terms of being the like scientist role, the one who's going to create all the weapons, gadgets, things like that for the Avengers or the Young Avengers in future movies. Definitely a great step towards her. I really liked her character, and the actress did an amazing job portraying her. Now, breaking everything down on the Wakanda side of this movie. So there's a lot of great things that can be put into this movie and talked about in this movie, but there's also, again, just a lot of things that I feel like with a lot of this film, this movie was way too big to chew off what it was trying to pull off, because again, too, it's the final movie of Phase 4, having to tie things together, dealing with the passing of T'Challa, new leadership in terms of a Black Panther, and again, too, having later on in this movie having to fill the shoes of who's going to lead Wakanda now. And there's just so much that this movie needed to do that I found, again, too, the first half was great at building up the initial conflict, but the second half was very, very rushed over. It felt way too quick paced for what it needed to be. For a movie that was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, this felt very short in a lot of ways, just because of how much they're rushing over a lot of things this movie needed to do. First of all, I want to talk about Angela Bassett. Amazing performance that she puts on in this movie. Extremely strong as Queen Ramonda, and just again to everything that she did in this movie was absolutely incredible. I love her performance, very powerful. When we get into her character a little bit, though, I found a lot of her choices were, I mean, she's hurting, she's in pain. A lot of her decisions, especially around Okoye, were very, very rash and not fair in a lot of ways. They bring up Daniel Kaluuya's character from the first movie, and just I found just brushing over his history and again too what happened to him was definitely a lot rushed over. A lot more things that they needed to explain or showcase a little bit more could have been put into again her feelings towards Okoye in this movie. And a lot of times too, I felt it a little bit in the first movie, and I definitely felt it in this one too. Wakanda just feels small. I find that it focuses on just too few characters in a lot of ways, and when it comes down to the battle sequences, we don't really see a lot of soldiers, a lot of people, and it doesn't go into. They always talk about Wakanda being the biggest, strongest nation in the world, but a lot of time it really doesn't feel that way, and especially in this movie, and especially during the action sequences, it just again to made this movie so small, focusing on so few characters or only showing so few characters. By the end of this movie, I love M'Baku. I love his character. I'm happy that it seems like he is going to be the new king of Wakanda, but I felt like we needed to see more of him to make it feel earned. He wasn't really in this movie for too much, and in all honesty, he only really does one cool thing in terms of defending Wakanda, and the rest of it, you just see him being beaten, getting up after it, and still being with his people, being a strong leader of his people, but not in the sense that we get to see Shuri do, some of the Dora Milaje do, that we get to see Queen Maronda do. Again, too, I love his character. It just didn't feel earned to have him. Again, they don't name him as king in this movie, but it feels like that's what they're going to go towards. I just needed more of him in order to feel like this was an earned position. And when it comes to Okoye, I found her story was very, very well explored. I wish that we would have got to see a little bit more of her in the second half, but very strong character, and I like the ways that they were able to place her within Wakandan society and just have her be, again, so strong, so loyal to Wakanda, so loyal to her people, not just the royalty. I really, really liked the art that she had in this, and she was easily one of the stronger parts of this movie. Same thing with Nakia. I loved how they brought her back. And I loved, again, too, just the way that they utilized her in saving Shuri, kind of in the halfway points of this movie. And again, to sparking a little bit of the war, but again, to doing so in the way that her character is best at. She was very, very strong. Loved her arc in this. And again, too, this movie does have one after credit scene. It involves her and, again, T'Challa's son that they had after the events of Endgame. Well, they had the kid before the events of Infinity War, but then she moved away from Wakanda, had the son, and kept them away from, again, to just the burdens, the pressure, again, the kind of awful lifestyle of Wakanda in a lot of ways of being royalty. And I just found it was very, very great to continue on the legacy of T'Challa, his character, his bloodline, all those things. Before we get into the Shuri part of this movie, I want to talk about Everett Ross and Madame Hydra in this movie. I found that they added absolutely nothing to the final bits of this film. I don't really understand why they were there. A lot of the times, they didn't really do much to help. They were just kind of there to gossip in their own. I guess in terms of, it was kind of fun to see a little bit more of Madame Hydra, but I just felt like their story didn't need to be told in this, or I didn't feel like it was necessary in any way. They could have had them completely out of the movie, and I feel like it would have just been better in the long run for saving time, and just have, again, to all these nations be the ones picking away at Wakanda and not just have him caught up in the middle for whatever reason. So when it comes to Shuri, I did find that I didn't like the idea of her being Black Panther yet. Within this movie, I didn't feel like she was ready. It was earned. We haven't seen her too much in the combat against her, of course, obviously going to be so broken with after the events of, again, her brother passing. It didn't really feel earned in a lot of ways, and especially to after watching this movie, it definitely didn't feel earned. It felt like she took the mantle away from the people. I know that it's been a whole year without anyone going for the mantle of Black Panther. I mean, they couldn't with the lotus flower, but it didn't exactly feel right for her to take that flower without consulting, again, all the other eligible candidates who could have taken up that mantle. I can get kind of the scarcity of time when it comes to the situation, but I didn't really feel like it was earned in a lot of ways. She was too angry. She wasn't ready for it. There was something that I kind of hypothesized with my girlfriend that we were going to see Killmonger in this film when whoever goes into the secret plane would meet again and have to challenge Killmonger, which she does in a way, but she doesn't go through again the combat trial to take over from the past Black Panther. It's just a bit of an argument that they had that I felt was a bit of a waste of talents of like bringing Michael B. Jordan back. They could have done so much more with his character again too in the Sacred Plane. And again, so she didn't go through the proper channels, the proper steps, and that is something that kind of rubs me the wrong way when it comes to the succession of the Black Panther. Again, so it just didn't feel earned for Shuri. But really, that's kind of my problem with a lot of this movie, was just that it felt so rushed over in a lot of ways. There needed to be so much more to pack in and tell in this movie to truly have the characters feel complete and earned in a lot of ways. Just felt like there was so much missed out that needed to be told to truly, again, have these characters and this world Wakanda realized. And I didn't like a lot of decisions. It just, again, it felt incomplete in a lot of bit of ways. And one of my problems with Phase 4 of Marvel is everything has felt rushed, generic in a way. Nothing has tied into one another yet. We don't really know the end point for, again, Phase 4. And this, again, just felt like it fit into that disjointed Phase 4 kind of talk that's been going around, where everything just doesn't, it feels rushed, it feels disconnected from everything else Marvel wise. And that did definitely hinder my score a little bit. And with all honesty and in all reality, I do have to give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. It fits again with most of Phase 4, where I did like it. I did have quite a bit of fun with this movie at points, but it's not a movie that I feel like I need to watch again. I might just watch certain fight scenes, certain scenes that I really, really liked, but I don't feel the time was worth it to recommend people to go see this in the theaters, or again, to just rewatch on my own time. I will, however, be very, very excited to listen to the soundtrack of this, because Ludwig Göransson does an incredible job. The music is definitely Neymar, Riri Williams, Okoye, and the music in this film is definitely the highlights for this movie for me. All absolutely incredible. The music absolutely bolsters every single scene, pushes the instrumentation that he found in the first movie even further. He did a great job bringing the elements of African culture into the music of Wakanda, and also to the Mexican culture into the music, and again to just the culture, the history of Namor's people. And it's just an amazing job in all of that sense. So if you've seen Black Panther Wakanda Forever, please let me know what your thoughts of it were in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up, and you can check out everything I do on the channel through the playlist down below, and I'll link them up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turn that little ring on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out the description of this video on my channel bio, there's a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord, where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community, help make it even more amazing than it is already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.
Sky blue eyes, I see a world behind them. No more time sinking into the silence.